This is a FilmDimension interview. We are speaking with Emma Ramsay today. Emma, how are you?
I'm smashing, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very, very good. Bright and early and ready to go. Of course, the first question would be, how did you get involved in this crazy world of filmmaking and filming? And first of all, you're a writer, director.
Yes, a screenwriter with aspirations to be a director, but I'm on that journey now. So yes, let's just give myself the title. You are what you say you are. I mean, if we're going right back, always wanted to be a director, but I'm from a mining village outside of Edinburgh. There's no connections or anything. So those aspirations quickly sort of fell by the wayside, and I was a bar manager for years. And weirdly saying that you can fail at what you don't want to do, so you might as well take a shot at doing what you do want to do. So I took my mum back to uni to do a degree in digital media, and that was sort of specialising in 2D animation. But while I was there, I realised that I was rubbish at animating. I was never going to make anything, but I was good at writing the stories. So I sort of took that momentum into a screenwriting masters. Loved that, got some specs together, but I also got some of my writing. And, you know, just the experience of being on set, it sort of reignited that sort of love for directing and demystified a lot of it. You know, I thought it was maybe something that you needed to, like, you know, maybe it's a calling. And I sort of saw, no, there's a technical aspect to this. You can learn this, there's a craft to it. And thought that, well, this is something I definitely want to do. And then one of the actors that was on my student film had worked with Mikey, who's the writer of my next project. Mikey and I met and really hit it off. So we sort of started the ball rolling that way and attached to that project.
Cool. As it often happens like that, you meet people and you sort of fall into something else. What was your next series of writing projects, and you're working your way up to making a short at the moment or in the near future, aren't you? Would you like to talk about that? Because again, that's how I discovered you via Twitter, and I saw the crowdfunding page for that, and it looked really, really interesting. So we can sort of work into talking about that.
Yeah. Well, it is really interesting. So Mikey Burnett is a Scottish playwright, and he writes in Scots. He's you know, writes very working class stories. They're not sort of issue driven like that. You know, they've got a good you know, they're all character based stories. But he'd written this play that was on at the Fringe in 2019 called is about a young girl sort of fighting her way out of a desperate situation through boxing, which I do boxing training, so just the play I really related to and really got on board with just from the outset. And originally when he got in touch with me, he was just looking for a director to take it on as a radio play. None of this is something that I'd done before, but I just really connected with the material, and I had a little bit of, you know, connections just from other stuff that I've been doing to think, well, this is something that I could it just felt like the right fit. So we needed a producer to apply for some funding, and Reece, who was a couple of years above me at film school, is the only kind of producer that I had a sort of direct line to. So I sent him the script and asked him if he could give us a hand. And it was actually Reece who said, you know, this should be a film. It's so visual. It's got quite a lot of like visceral energy that just, it deserves to be seen on screen. And so that was sort of his idea. Obviously, we couldn't take it shorts or anything before. So, well, Reece had made lots of shorts, sorry. And then Reece brought on Laura McBride, who's another Scottish producer, to sort of balance the workload because they've both got very busy slates. So between them, we started applying for some funding and managed to get on to a sort of scheme with Creative Scotland where they were match funding your crowdfunder up to £5,000.
Right.
yeah.
And how much did has that helped with the matching of
we
funding?
would not, yeah, we would not be able to do it. Like if we'd done a crowdfunder, we would have got about half of what we've raised, which would have been fine. But with the COVID regulations and the extra costs that are kind of coming in, that extra funding that they've given us is really gonna just, it's more money that we can put on screen, basically. So I'm thrilled, you know, to do it without it.
Sure. No, I mean it's always more helpful when you've got a little bit extra. That's pretty cool. Do you want to go briefly into your background? You said about you do boxing. I said, look, do you want to explain about that? Because that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, it's as a sort of fitness training. I don't spar. Let's just put that right out there. Sure. I am not getting in the ring and I'm not getting hit. But it's a real release in the crowdfunding video. But it's like, it is like therapy. It's like it really helps with my mental health. My partner, he took me along to a lot of his boxing clubs, and you know, a lot of the times I'm the only woman there. So when Mikey's written a story about female boxing, you know, I just thought it was a really important portrayal, a positive portrayal of boxing for women. And I also like that she doesn't, in our short, it's not about her finding this. She's already way out. It's just about the sort of mentality and what it's like when you have this as a release in your life, when you've got that sort of and the support. Boxing trainers, you know, everybody I've ever met in a boxing gym has been so supportive, so friendly, and yeah, it is like an addiction, really. You get addicted to this community and the endorphins and the release. So yeah.
Similar to making a film in a way. You're part of a sort of a team, and you're often trying to work towards that end goal.
You'd think it'd be quite a singular. Yeah, you think it's quite a singular way of training, and it is. You can do it on your own, but you know, we used to go to a Holyrood boxing gym in Edinburgh, which it's really well known, and they would do classes, and it was just a right mixed bag of people, and everybody would sort of cheer each other on, and it was really hard. I mean, you were dripping with sweat. It was not a glamorous thing at all, but it was great. And actually, when we were doing the crowdfunder video, we were lucky enough along to be in that video, and you know, one of them wants to compete, and she was saying just how difficult it is to actually find other young girls her age and her weight that she can fight against, because there's just not enough of them. You know, she travels like the length and breadth of the country. If somebody pulls out, she's kind of stuck, so she's not got anybody to sort of train against. So that's another reason that we wanted to do this film, is just to sort of get the word out there and maybe inspire some more young girls.
Sure. What is your sort of timeline for creating this in terms of filming? Again, COVID probably makes things much harder.
Yeah, I mean, we hoped to have it done before Christmas. That's not happened, and I think now we're aiming for late spring. So hopefully shooting late April, maybe May, maybe June. You know.
Sure.
Hoping that the warmer it is, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So.
Yeah, I can see that. This being your first directing debut, what preparation are you doing to this? How are you sort of approaching? Obviously, you're part of a team, and you've got the help and support of other people, camera people, DOPs, that sort of thing. Just it's interesting from speaking to you before you've done it, as in your expectations of how you're going to execute it.
Well, it's really helped that it's not my first experience on set. You know, I was around for a lot of the Emma film students' work, and as much as I wasn't directly involved, I was sort of feeding off of their energy when I was watching them prepare. So I know what was sort of, if you were doing an MA film degree, this is what you would kind of be asked to do. I'm also quite supported in the fact that, you know, my partner, he's a writer, so we chat a lot about that. His sister's a director, I've chatted to her about just, you know, struggling to find references, which I think has been my biggest challenge. You know, I've got this vision in my head. How do I find the specific visual references that I feel really tell people what I'm aiming for? And I found that I just read a lot of books, a lot of websites, you know, and it was just a Google of film prep. I know that sounds really silly. And then, you know, and I just kept reading the script and how do I see it? You know, if I want to create tension, how did other people do it? I kind of gave myself a bit of a film school, really.
Yeah.
And, you know, sent it to my producer. They've given me feedback, said what was clear, what wasn't clear. So it has been sort of collaborative and, you know, just, I guess you'd just say putting the work in, I hope. You know, this might not work. I think it'll not be through lack of trying. It'll not, you know, and I do want it to be fun. You know, it's supposed to be fun. I enjoy this. So I'm not going to like shackle myself to this really rigid plan. I know things will go wrong. I'm really excited. We've not quite got our DOP on board yet. We're still looking at who we want to approach. But I'm really excited to, you know, have those conversations. You know, this was my, in an ideal world, vision, and having a talk with them, because I'm not super technically versed yet, but I'm excited and I want it to work. So I will listen.
Sure. How important is it that you have these experiences before in other capacities, you know, that you basically have to put the work in, you've got to do the research, you've got to get the experience up. Is that basically the only way that it happens?
I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I just know that, like, I'm not a spring chicken. I am not, you know, I hear a lot about when they were teenagers, they were given a camera and they ran around and they did it a bit more like guerrilla style, fly by the seat of their pants. I didn't do that. You know, it was predominantly when I was interested in being a director. When I was younger, it was theatre. And then I was a bartender. So I've not had that sort of, that sort of experience. My only experience is when you have a crew and you're paying cast. And I just think as soon as money gets involved, and especially we've crowdfunded this, it's other people matters that I'm prepared and that I go in with a plan and that I'm not wasting people's time and money. So if it's your own, if it was my own thing and I was just being a bit more experimentative, maybe I wouldn't care so much. Not care, but maybe I would be all right with being a bit more loosey-goosey. But I think for this project, to do Mikey's writing justice, to do the story justice, to not have wasted anybody's time, that it really, like, you know, me putting in the effort is the least I can do.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I get that. Again, I always ask this of a lot of people I interview and talk to in terms of how do you see film, particularly independent film today, in terms of you go through this struggle of making your film, because every film, even a short film, whatever, is a struggle, you know, struggle to get the money, struggle to get the shots on time and the crew and everything else. And you go through this and you make your film and you edit it and it's done and you're like, right, we've done it. And then the bigger struggle starts where, right, who's going to get to see this, you know, how are we going to get to see people? What's your plan for that film, and what's your view on the independent film scene marketplace at the moment in terms of getting your film seen and the support or lack of support of, well, now what do you do with festivals, and after festivals, now what do you do?
I would say that this would be a question more suitable for my producers, but what I can do is scramble together from what we have already discussed, because again, This is my first time doing it. Sure. I'm a huge fan of short film festivals. I watch a lot of short films online, and you know, I've volunteered at short film festivals before, and I really rate them, if not just for the community side of the thing. We also, because this film is about boxing and we do have a wider message, and the play has, especially in Scotland and, you know, specifically Edinburgh. Lots of people are really excited to see it anyway, just because we do have that little bit of momentum behind it that way. So we do plan on doing screenings in boxing gyms that are a little bit more specific. We, you know, Josh Taylor had sort of very kindly promoted it, the sort of the merchandise that we need to sort of give out to the winners, and we're hoping to do sort of events and stuff for that, COVID allowing. So hopefully that is what's going to happen. But I'm also a big believer that, you know, these films kind of have a lifespan that you're not in control of, and I do believe that these things sort of find their audience. I mean, I watched like one of my favourite short films is really it's called The Burden, and it's I'm pretty sure it's Swedish or Norwegian, excuse me, stop motion animation. You know, I had no business watching this film. They probably didn't think some girl in Edinburgh is going to absolutely love this. But I found it, you know, just through the hours and hours of trolling through the internet. And I just think, you know, we're not going to be precious about it. We want people to see it. We're going to give it our best shot and then hope that it finds its life. I'm sure my producers have a bit more of a specific idea about how they're going to get people to see it. But in my opinion, it's just this really nice organic process where people love stories and seek them out. But we will be trying to get it into festivals.
I really like the idea of showing it in boxing gyms. I think that's a brilliant idea. Obviously because it fits the story, but I think that's probably what a lot of filmmakers need to do in terms of, if you know who your audience is, how do you reach them? And how do you get them beyond telling them to watch on their computer? You know, I think live little events, again, COVID allowing and everything else, is a very, very, very clever, very cool idea. Again, from your experience of where you are now, what could be more support to first-time directors, first-time female directors? You hear a lot about the film industry not being diverse enough, and powers that be trying to make it more diverse. But what's your experience of that? Is anyone out there helping you, or are you just as much on your own as before?
No, I don't feel like I am on my own. I mean, what I will say is my very limited experience is trying to go through public funding, you know, like Creative Scotland and applying for their stuff. And to be honest, you know, I've applied for the scheme up here in Scotland, the sort of BFI one called Sharp Shorts, and I didn't get on. And I think that's because my project wasn't good enough. I see what they've sort of stuff that they did choose. So I don't really take it as oh, they didn't choose me because of some other reason other than my story. And I've never felt like I was being judged on anything other than the quality of my work. And I've just, as far as I'm concerned, I've just been trying to get better. When I graduated, I was very lucky to go on to a TV drama development scheme where I worked in TV drama development for a year. And that was through a project up in Scotland called Screen Nets, which if anybody has on production experience, apply for Screen Nets. It's amazing. And you sort of become part of their community afterwards. It's not one of those training schemes where you do it and you're chucked away and, like, you know, good luck, you've had a year. So I'm kind of getting continued support there, and you know, putting me in touch with a directing mentor, which hasn't really happened yet, but hopefully that's going to be, you know, we're in talks about trying to get somebody, an experienced film and television director, to come in and just chat to me about that. You know, I actually feel like I am getting quite a lot of support. Also, I'm of the opinion that even if I do get told no, I'm going to do it anyway. So, and I do think if anybody does feel like they're, you know, struggling to get in, I think momentum is easier to get on board with. So if you're kind of the opinion, like, this film is going to happen, you might want to jump on board because it's going to happen anyway. I'm not sitting around and waiting for somebody to open the door for me. I'm going to make films.
Yeah,
it would be great if there was some money to make them, but they're going to happen regardless. So, issue, you know, I can't say for past years. I've only been trying to get into the film industry for a very short period of time, and I've found it to be quite receptive. And I also see that a lot of these schemes are, you know, the majority of them are women. So I think that they're making a push. And, you know, diversity in terms of ethnicity. You know, I can't really speak to that. I know that there's a spotlight on it. I hope that that is, you know, money in filmmakers' hands. My very good friend Lauren is also making a film called Her Midas Touch, which is a Scottish story. She's a Black Scottish filmmaker, very, very talented, and she's doing phenomenally well, as she should. Her writing's amazing. So yeah, I can see that there are some stories coming out. It's not enough yet. I can only say that I'm not really finding being a female filmmaker a barrier. People are quite receptive.
No, that's brilliant. That's a really positive story. What's the filmmaking industry in Scotland like? Because again, I meant have this conversation with lots of people because I'm always curious. Maybe it's purely just me, but it's almost like on TV and stuff. It's like a lot of the films that are being produced are kind of London centric or London based. And when I speak to people outside of London doing their own thing, there seems to be a lot of filmmakers all over the UK. You know, in Portsmouth, in Birmingham, in Newcastle. What's Scotland like in terms of creative stuff going on, and yeah, how do we spread that around?
I think there's a phenomenal amount of talent up here. I would say that the majority of the stuff, gosh, it sounds so weird because we are quite a small country, but the majority of the stuff that I'd seen was coming out of Glasgow. It's the biggest city. It's got a bigger, younger population. So I do think that it can be, you know, we talk about London centric in terms of scene can feel quite Glasgow centric. But that's definitely changing. You know, there's I've been applying for some funding schemes, and they do ask for you know, regional diversity in terms of people that are from the countryside. I've seen excellent films coming out of the islands. I know that there's been a couple of features getting shot on islands and up in the north of Scotland recently that are, I think they've been announced. So yeah, I mean, it's happening. Again, my limited experience, there's stuff's happening for the right projects, and there are opportunities, or the right projects at the right time. That's another thing I'd say. Just if you're not, you know, there's probably excellently developed scripts that, you know, it's just not been the right time to fund them quite yet, or, you know, the ducks haven't all been in a row. I mean, it's happening. There's limited finances there are for anybody, but there's stuff.
No, it's good.
I only graduated and decided I wanted to do this in 2017, and I've like, you know, I managed to get some funding together to make a film. So you can do it if you really, really want to.
Yeah.
So yeah. My experience is mainly in telly, which is very centric. So
sure.
So that yeah.
Well, just off the top of your head, because again, it's interesting because you talk to people and you find out about. That's mainly how people find out about short films, isn't it? That's why I'm trying to sort of put lots of short films on the FilmDimension to begin with. What would you say off the top of your head? You have some of the best short films you've seen recently, or even not even recent, maybe years ago. You know, do you have a couple of favorite ones you just want to put out there people might discover?
Yep. My boyfriend is an excellent filmmaker, and I'm not just saying that. He's been told it by other people. He's very well trained. He's been doing it for a very long time, and his latest short, Neville is Dead. I really recommend watching that. Laugh and cry. It's excellent. I really rate. There's another Scottish filmmaker called James Price, and he did a short that was on at Glasgow Short Film Festival last year called Boys Night, which I loved. It's about a little boy trying to get his drunk dad home at the end of a night, and I just thought that was really sweet, and it really gave an accurate picture at Glasgow and his experience. Ian's just pouring out through something, so I really enjoyed that. And The Burden, the Swedish/Norwegian stop motion animation musical about the burden of life. It's just that it's if I can sell it to anybody, you get to see some sardines wearing bathrobes, singing about having an existential crisis. It's phenomenal. I adore it. So yeah, I'd recommend those 3.
Sure, I will see what I can do to maybe find them and reach out to those people and maybe even put them on the site. Where can people find out more about yourself, social media, website, that sort of thing? The production and of Get in Her Corner, all that sort of stuff. Where can people find you?
So we have our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can find them all at In Her Corner, and you can get me at Spit and Scribble.
So just say that again. I think you broke up a bit. The last bit.
Oh, Spit, as in saliva, spit, and Scribble is my Twitter handle. Feel like weird because I've said it 3 times now, but yes, that's
that's cool. That's cool.
Talking about it that way.
No, brilliant, brilliant. I will put the links up as I always do. Yeah, I just want to thank you for having a chat with us today. I think it's been really, really informative. It's really, really cool. And again, it's really good to hear that there are filmmakers around just doing it, just getting on and doing it and making stuff. And yeah, there is so many cool films, be it short films, feature films, animation, whatever, that is coming out. And you don't just have to watch Marvel stuff,
I do love Marvel though. I do. I am a massive Marvel fan.
Sure. Yeah, I don't hate it. I do watch it myself, so I have to admit. But
for telly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Emma, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me.